here we are. We're bringing in Max Karon to the fold. And, gosh, dude, I already told the story of driving home from Burkheiser's wedding, listening to this song for 6 hours and the lightning coming down. And it drove me absolutely insane. Don't you laugh. Because, see, when he mixed it, that's all he did. He laughed the whole entire time. I know he had to now.
Oh, no.
So, I want to know about your process. I mean, how messed up was it for you when he's like, God, I got 36 vocals to do on the section. That bad.
Actually, it wasn't so bad. So the kit, I started it off like kind of how I record my metal mixes or mix them. And it turns out that Ryan's using the same exact drum mapping that I do via the same programs, Death and Darkness, via Superior Drummer 3.
Oh, sweet.
And so there was zero effort right off the bat making the drums sound right. They just did, and that helped because only very rarely do MIDI files translate between various users. Usually it's a giant F show. I listened to you. I heard you. And so that was great. And then I had last couple of months, really, I've just been sort of embracing the fact that I am not on tour as a tech, which is what I do most of the time.
Well, can we pause for a minute, because Max Karon, who is he? Who have you teched for? Who have you recorded?
Recorded pretty much only myself.
Well, didn't you work with Bad Wolves? I thought you did something with Bad Wolves. I know I've seen your name come up.
Totally. I've been a hidden member in their band because I technically helped start it in 2014.
Oh, sweet.
But that is kind of like an extension of myself. It's just recording my own music. It's just all of a sudden now it's like, going on to a label. Whereas most of the time it just hangs out in Dropbox, you know what I mean? But so that's the songwriter portion of things, which I'll get into in a second. But for the most part, I'm a live touring tech, like guitar, bass, keys lately. I am slated to go out with Faith No More.
That's the name I was wanting to say earlier, but I didn't know if I was allowed to.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
okay.
Their shows are announced. It's all good. And prior to that, I was working for Ghost for 2 years. So that kept me busy, like obscenely busy. But it was good.
So these last 2 months.
Yes, these last 2 months, kind of from the momentum of a lot of Bad Wolves writing this year and some other things, I sort of was trying to embrace the fact that like I could take myself seriously as a full-time songwriter as opposed to just being someone who does it on the side. I always feel like I'm kind of like skirting away from it. Like, am I just afraid of music? Am I too emotionally involved? Does it mess me up so much that I can't do it all the time? And it's hard for me to make permanent determinations about like who I am and what I think based on the last 15 months because they're the circumstances that kind of govern the entire time are messed up beyond recognition. Like, usually I go on tour, and it's really cool to be home and play with my gear in my own personal way, and I'm my boss, and great. Then it's really cool to go back out on tour and, like, contribute to a team effort and be in the moment and live and handling stuff. And so, like, switching between the two is really, really nice. And so, last couple of months, I thought, all right, I'm going to gear up for being a songwriter. I'm gonna gear up. I'm gonna tweak all my settings so they're perfect. I'm gonna make everything perfect. That's pitfall number 1. So basically, for the last 2 months, I've been telling myself, yeah, I'm gonna get ready to be a songwriter, and so I've only been messing with tones. Pretty much as like every free moment of time I had was just spent messing with sound, as opposed to actually coming up with product and I was just running in circles for so long, but I got some really cool tones and insights out of it. So it's like towards the end of that process, I was really, really sad and almost like just annoyed and self-defeating and all this, but like, boy, did I have some improved insights on some things that I was doing. Like the bass tone, just like from my main kind of sound that I'm working with, it just boop, fell into place. I don't believe I changed a single thing about how I affected the DI, because it was DI and then I mixed in a little bit of distortion and it just boom, worked. I loaded my new preset drums that I've been working on obsessively. Boom, that worked. I raised, I the kick and snare were too loud. Brought those down by request and it all sat right. And so this was really, really, really cool for me, because it just goes to show that like my neurotic headspace, perfectionism, insanity, misery hole that I've been in actually did amount to something, and I found that out via this mix, and so I'm very thankful that I was able to do it.
We're thankful for you because, like I said, when I was driving home and listening to it, the drums were so thunderous. And like Ryan will like pre-mix everything and send you the session, and it sounds really good. But we've recorded Fallen. You mixed Fallen, which we'll talk about in another Deconstructed. And it wasn't that Ryan didn't do a good job. It's like he's the songwriter with me. He's doing all the guitars. He's doing the vocals. And I said, man, you need to take a step back and be out of this picture. We really need a third person who really knows what we're doing to kind of bring it to another level, a different life, and get a different flavor on it. And that's what it did for me, with both songs. And it just popped. And even like you tweaked some things for me. I wanted a couple of the harmonies up a little bit, and my ego kicked in. I want to hear a little more piano, because I want to be playing that. But dude, it was larger than life. I don't even know. Somebody made a comment and also was like, "Oh, old school metal," and I'm like, "Where?" Even Scott, my other guitar player, said, "Where the heck does he get that?" I don't hear old school metal. I don't even know what I hear, except we've heard a couple things like Devin Townsend, but I don't know. I always want to think like a cinematic, manic experience, just in your face, like there's 16 vocalists singing on this thing. So that's what you did.
You really took our song to such a new level.
I was a little fearful. I love the music, but I know what today's music is like. This is nothing like it. It's not a pop song for the radio. And when I told Ryan I just wanted to do something crazy, he took me literally, and he just went nuts with it. So I'm appreciative that it didn't drive you insane, especially when all those stacked vocals and trying to figure out what to do and make them sit in that mix. And I'm kind of curious as how you did that. I mean, how Ryan's voice stood out in the center and how you wrapped the vocals around everything.
Well, there are a couple notes that popped up. When you mentioned Ryan pre-mixed everything and that it became more difficult for him probably as the songwriter, yeah. That's the thing I've been doing battle with personally. I've been telling myself, all right, I'm going to nail my own production so I don't have to worry about it and I can just go and be the songwriter, except the transition to the songwriter hasn't happened yet. And there are a number of reasons for that. Mostly, I'm stuck at home and kind of going nuts. So there's that. So I acknowledge the fact that it is difficult to switch phases. In fact, when I was much younger, I got a piece of advice from Frederick Thorndahl himself from Meshuggah. He said, like, don't write and mix at the same time. Just poof. And so as soon as I heard that,
really?
yeah, and like, I was like nerdily and carefully messaging him on like Facebook in 2009 or something. Like, hey, buddy. But so that I acknowledge to be a very, very, very real thing. And so a second set of ears is like beyond valuable, because trying to do it yourself, ask me how I know, drives you nuts. But I'm glad the product of the first half of that got to be useful here. And then you mentioned something that I'm totally spacing on, and that makes me just...
I was talking about like how we had a conversation last week on the phone, and you're like, oh, well, Ryan's set in the middle, and I put 30 this and that, and then I wrap the vocals with this other reverb, and I'm like, it went whoop, because I am the worst. I don't know about it. I know basics about effects, and that's it, and I don't care. I hate to record. I mean, it's like pulling teeth. Ryan's like, would you just freaking sing those two words and be done with it? So, this is where your expertise comes in because you two are way above my head.
You have reminded me of the two things. That the main important thing about this song is that you mentioned it is definitely not a pop song, and it is definitely not simple, but a lot of being an artist with very intricate and strange and hard to express ideas, as Ryan is, I know for a fact. Part of that is just this true intention that, I mean, I want to say I have my version of that too, and it's not in kind of living with Ryan in college, which we were roommates and sharing ideas and songs and stuff. It wasn't something we questioned because the world worked like X or the world was a certain way, and it is only in recent years through my songwriting as a separate entity ventures that I've discovered that there is obviously a much bigger market for catchier, simpler songs. It's kind of about moving units. And so coming into this sort of view of the world where the goal of the songs used to be intricate complexity and masterpiece, to now it just needs a hook, bro. It's an interesting experience for me. And so what I've found that trying to sometimes conform myself, all my energies into a little box, can be completely exhausting. Sometimes it's very fun. Sometimes it's like I can grab this from my crazy ideas, but treat it as a project. Cool. I think there's a time and place for that. I think the thing I'm coming to discover about myself is that it's not 100% of the time. And as this is happening in my head, I hear this song, which doesn't give a fuck. My apologies about the language.
That's all right.
You put some 1K sign over it. Which absolutely pays no attention to what's going on in the world, because it is just pure neurotic energy from a very real place that has not been questioned, or like no bending to society was involved in the making of this song. And that reminds me of something so fresh in me, something that I've experienced and something I know Ryan does full time. It was completely invigorating to feel that. And so all of the work that went into the song, none of it was difficult. None of it was hard, and none of it was grindy and tense, because I only feel grindy and tense when I'm doing something I don't want to do because I tell myself I have to be doing that, or I should be doing that. There was no should about this song. Not a split second of should about this song in any way, because it is absolutely pure, overwhelming, expressive energy that it just hit in a very special place for me.
Well, you know, it brings two things to mind. Number one, people who know me, I'm like small circle family, and I have an engineer from who ran Musicians Institute, and he ran SAE. His name's Dallin Beck, so he does the Vendera and Stith stuff. But Ryan's like, man, this is like my non-blood brother. I mean, we're that close, and I think he's right. It's almost like Angel Fire East is three people. It wouldn't sound as great as it does if it weren't for you. And I had said this on the phone to you the other day, and I said it to Ryan because I had to send him the lyrics precisely. He knew what they were, but he was doing the lyric video, and we both noticed something. And I asked if you noticed this. There's no chorus to the song. It's
That's what I was gonna say.
Verse, B section. There's a spoken word, verse, B section, and a bunch of screaming. And that's it. And it's not like I've if I was to teach a songwriting class, I couldn't do it because I could. I've done it in VBA, but it's very organic. I don't really think verse, chorus, B section, hook. You got to do this. Now, maybe if I wanted to, be a multimillionaire writing songs, but hey, I knew a guy, one of my students, I won't say who it is, but he sent me a song. He's like, man, check this out. You won't believe who wrote this for me. And it was some songwriter who's worked with all these big pop and R&B artists. And it was like, I'm going to party on Saturday. Yeah, Saturday, party. And I'm like, he's like, she wrote that in 10 minutes. And I was like, of course she did. Listen to it. It's na boo, 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 chicka boo, chicka boo. I mean, it's Fruity Loops and 3 words. So, and I mean, I know that formula works, but it's just, I've always been into the vision, especially with writing lyrics and what goes beyond. I'm not worried about rhyming and stuff like that. So I don't know if you caught it when you're listening to the song, or maybe you thought a part of the song was the chorus. I don't know. How did it play out for you?
Yeah, well, did you set up markers or anything?
Oh, not this time.
I tried.
No, I mean, I've gotten very colorful and clever with my markers and the certain colors of sections of songs. And one thing I did 14 of over the last year was kind of rock/metal covers of pop songs. For Bad Wolves in particular, and that was I'm very thankful for that opportunity because it helped keep the lights on, and I was playing like Lady Gaga, trying to make it convincing and metal, and that was I'd say that was to tell you the truth, my most in touch experience with song structure to date, because I was really, really, really hands on with these structures, and this wasn't one of those arm's length projects. You know what I mean? Like oh yeah, I'm just doing this because I'm doing this to pay the bills. Or I mean, there's obviously more passion than that. I like what I do, but this was like, okay, this is yeah, like you said, it's the vision.
Yeah,
it comes with the vision, and a lot of not a lot of that. I thought that was so normal. I took it for granted that the vision was just default with me and Ryan, and that was how it worked. That's how we thought it had to work. The vision, right?
And then you got into the industry.
Correct. I got into the industry, and that is not how it works most of the time. Right. So it was entirely refreshing, and I didn't set up markers basically because I could kind of see where the song was based on how many vocal layers there were. I mean there are certain vocal sections that only happen on certain tracks. Yeah. And it was just like, that's obvious, that's the chorus, that's where it happens.
Yeah, because I think you said, this one's got 36 vocal parts.
Did it? Yeah.
I gotta know, because I don't know. Here's the thing about Ryan. I'm used to maybe I would do 4 or 6 takes and I'd send them to an engineer to comp. And I swear to you, I told you this on the phone. I think Ryan's like, I could comp them or just keep them off. And I feel like he just throws it all in there. And so Brian, I don't even know if you did that, if we were doubled a lot, or did we have that many different parts? Because I don't even remember.
I know he said it's like 30 layers on that part, but those could have easily been like certain layers bounced into other tracks, so it's like multiple layers on one track. Yeah, so it could be even more vocal tracks. I like the sound of double tracking, on those big choirs in the background. I think it's cool, and it makes it sound very full. But there's spots where it's definitely like single tracking just on your high screams in the background and stuff that we gave to Max. And just the overall polish that he put on the song is like, I can't even understand. Like, I just don't even get it. It sounds like an explosion.
Well, listen. Go ahead, Max. Go ahead.
I never answered your question about how I handled the vocals, and I realized that was something that was just still hanging there.
Yep.
Basically, the thing I had to watch out for were certain frequency buildups, because that's what can happen. And I guess all the same processes you're used to using, EQ, compression, reverb, delay, but luckily I felt like Fallen was actually the gauntlet for me, I think that was the first time I'd ever dealt with that kind of vocal intensity as far as just sheer
And that was
numbers.
probably even more intense than this one. Because I swear, Ryan, you told me something like our 77 or so many 70, 80 vocal parts on some of
it's
this,
crazy.
which isn't actually out of the norm. I mean, some producers will have 100 and something vocal tracks, but it's just the way we stack it, because you hear bands like Alice in Chains, there's 2-part harmony, and I love that. I love Spread Eagle, I love Saigon Kick. But we're kind of doing that, but not. I come from singing in a choir and playing a keyboard and doing big complex chords, and I wanted to transfer both of those to vocals. And so when we do have harmonies on the choruses, I wanted these giant choirs. So I was worried. I was honestly worried, Max, how you'd be like, oh my God, not 47 of these. What the heck? So, woo! I'm glad it was easy.
If anything, I just had to pay attention to not over saucing the things that weren't prominent.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, another pitfall of mixing is making it sound good soloed. Mm-hmm. That's be careful, So I think between version 2 and 3, some of the stereo spreading and some of the delay and reverb went way down on all the backing stuff.
Yeah,
because I had arranged the vocal processing in groups of buses. So basically, there were certain themes that were already pre-labeled pretty nicely. Thank you, that helped. There was sort of a Ryan main vocal, and usually there was only like 2 or 3 of them. And then, I mean, the big stuff was you, like Jamie. There were like moments.
See, I'm
20
surprised because I don't remember, because I thought Ryan had built a lot of those choir harmonies. And then what it did, there was a couple in there I didn't even think of. He put them in like in the breakdown in the middle of the song. And then since I got such a deep voice too, I'm and doing these long, holding these big things, so it sounded like, monks or something singing it. So, I loved it. I love version 2 though. But then we were talking, and I was like, man, I said to Ryan, I said, where is those falsetto? Because we had to have this female character in there, and I didn't hear it. I thought, well, maybe it was buried. And Ryan's like, oh, I forgot to send him to him. And I was like, no, I really sucked really bad on him, and he just didn't want him to have him. But he sent him anyway, and it worked out. And I could tell it was a little less effect, but I like that. It was like you walk into a church cathedral, and that was enough, and you had the choir, and you're really close to them, and you could kind of pick out individual voices a little better.
Right. My goal was to give everything its own space, and I thought I can achieve this by sort of coding everything in a psychoacoustic space, but I realized I was causing more clouding than I was helping the spread. So one thing I've been trying to do in this whole process of the last 2 months is just try and be painfully honest with myself, because and here Ryan, if I had to give you any advice, this is as far as being a songwriter and a mixer at the same time. When you go to mixing mode, you just got to be brutally honest with yourself. And it's like, if anything, I'm worried that I've been detached from sounds for too long, because what can happen as an artist for me is, like, when I'm attached to a sound, I can ignore all of its faults, and that can translate into problems in a mix, and then I can beat my head against the wall wondering what's wrong with the entire mix, being attached to this guitar tone, and never question it at that first fundamental level, like, oh dude, just change it to a 57, stop using a ribbon. You know what I mean? Or something like that. It's like, oh, you think the 57's too bright? Well, the guitars need brightness to sit in the mix, and you're never going to get around that. Like, yeah, great. Another thing of, it sounds good alone, but not in a mix, etc., etc. So I've been trying hard to be brutally honest with myself about the qualities of the things in the mix. The difficulty now is reattaching myself passionately to, say, a guitar tone that I can work with creatively, because there does come a point where you can actually get like a little too clinical. You just begin to sort of feel alienated from sounds. That's my 2-month journey.
Whose tones did you use for these guitars? Was those yours, Ryan, or did you reamp them or something? Max?
No, this is a reamp.
Interesting thing. I have learned,
and I have no problem with what Max is about to say.
I have learned a lot as a mixer and an engineer just from paying attention to the words that my friend Mark Lewis says. Whenever he does like a Q&A thing on Instagram, or whenever I blow up his phone with questions, he is from the school of cold hard facts in audio. And so it turns out a lot of these drums are like, the drums were recorded by Mark Lewis in a kit called Death, part of Death and Darkness, Superior 3 expansion. Best drum sounds I've heard in a program ever. And then I for this kit, I made the sounds myself. I didn't start from a preset, and I'm pretty happy, pretty proud of that.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, sound amazing.
And then the guitars, my initial plan was to reamp with the tube amp that's next to me, but to get the mix going, I started just to like build a basis for it. I started with his STL Tones, STL Tone Hub pack, the Mark Lewis pack, yet again, Mark Lewis. And moving forward with the mix, I'm like, there's nothing wrong with these guitars right now.
No, they sound great.
I totally wasn't planning on like committing the sounds. I just was like, okay, I need some sort of really clear metal tone right now so I can continue to shape the entire mix, and then I'm going to worry about reamping later. Because I don't want to like stress about reamping right now when I have all this momentum to get this thing sorted. So I just came up with a guitar solution in a few minutes, and then it didn't have to change. So I'm finding that, where the rubber meets the road in audio, there's this sort of, not harshness, but there's this sort of like blunt honesty that you need to have about what's actually doing what's doing the heavy lifting in your mix. Like, I've been afraid of high end in my guitars forever, and in these guitars, it's just like the simulation is a cab and a 57, and I've never been one to like that. I'm always like, yeah, let's try the condenser and mix that with the ribbon on 2 cabs, 1 cab, 1 mic, maximum clarity, deal with it. Like, and that's something I'm still getting used to. And a similar approach to drums. A lot of my old drums in the past were way too compressed, way too parallel compressed. They just sounded like boom, boom. And these really have like a dynamic punch. Like,
my heart was racing. I mean, I felt like it was adrenaline rushing through my body, listening to those drums. I mean, I love everything about the song with the drums as I'm watching the lightning. It's just, and you're talking about through a crappy iPhone speaker and then Bluetoothing to crappy speakers in a rental car, and it still sounded huge. And I'm like, I wonder if I can crank these cheap speakers up in this car. Am I going to blow them out? But I want to hear this thing loud. So hopefully the speakers survived, but I did. Max, I know you're busy. I know you're going on tour with Faith No More. I know you did this for us, and we appreciate it because you and Ryan are close. But do you mix for anyone, and do you have a website? Do people hire you? I mean, what is your process? Do you do anything like that, or are you pretty tight? Pretty tight with what you're doing with Bad Wolves and with your guitar teching?
This has been such a good experience mixing that I might consider opening the door to do more.
I want to spread the word if that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, a couple years ago, I sort of kind of put a moratorium on mixing because I thought I was spreading myself thin at the time. And then I didn't feel like I had the skills or the credentials to actually call myself a mixer. And it's interesting. Ryan and I both came out of an audio college, and so there's this very, very common thing to have a website, call yourself a mixer, be this marketable thing, and And, you know, shortly after graduating and then having to like do that and deal with that on my own, I felt like such a hack, such a fraud, you know? And so, and like, I couldn't sit with that and just like know that, ugh. So that was, oh God, a decade ago now? Oh God. Okay, well, that was a decade ago. And if anyone watching this wanted to have their song mixed, let me know. Just email me at maxkaronmusic@gmail.com. I'm still considering putting up a website, because I guess there are some things it would help. There are some sexy websites just like, I've done this album cover, I've done this album cover. I'm thinking about a design like that, super simple. But in the meantime, you want to do some work, cool.
Yeah, Matt, we know we're going to continue to use you, because I know Ryan will call you like, please do it.
Well,
go ahead, Ryan.
I guarantee you no one's going to send you a project as well labeled as I did to you.
It was very well labeled.
Or insane as we did. We got drums, bass, one guitar, one vocal. What can you do for us? But hey, it's art. It doesn't matter if it's 36 vocals on a chorus or one. It's all about the art and the music. Ryan and I teach voice. JamieVendera.com as it is singlikeafreak.com. You still got that?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, and then VenderaVocalAcademy.com is where we teach voice together to the online community. And Max Karon Music at gmail.com. And it's MaxKaronMusic.
Actually, I would recommend just going straight to Max's Instagram at maxkaronmusic. If you really want to have a great time, just go to that Instagram.
Is it based on my stories or like?
Yeah, like great posts. Yeah, everything.
Yeah, see, great posts. See, I could call myself a mixer. I could call myself a content creator.
You could be an influencer.
Right? Maybe truth be told, a lot of people have said, Max, don't sell yourself short. And I've seen that the bar, the requirement for calling yourself X, Y, or Z, it's not really there. It was just something that I felt that I couldn't do. So I could call myself a mixer. I could call myself a content creator. It's just a matter of ego, and then there's a strange conflict. As soon as that title goes on the Instagram bio, I start to feel very strange. I don't.
But that's reverse ego, dude. I'm telling you. Ryan mixed Fallen, and before this is my nerve damage from my glass. It'll come back in a minute. But I was over in India. And he sent me that song because we were playing it on the radio over there. And then it kind of floated. We kind of put it on SoundCloud, and I really wasn't happy. And I know I was stressing out Ryan. And you remixed it. And dude, it brought it to life. It was just, there was punch in it. There was something about that song, which we're going to save that for another DeConstructed, because we're definitely having you back. And we'll get into what we did, what microphones, how you mixed that one, and how that one kind of broke into the craziness that is Ryan and myself, which you already knew how crazy Ryan was. And before I end this, even though I'm losing my voice, here we go. Let me fix it with the Vokes. This goes out to Terry Brooks, my favorite author from, you can call it Sorta Genre or Sorta Shannara. He won't really admit which way it should be pronounced. It's up to you. But this is dedicated to the legends of Shannara, the Elfstones of Shannara, however you want to pronounce it, and the characters in those. And that's how we'll do all of the Angel Fire East songs. And we got another one coming out in a few months. And then we'll be back with Max. So this is DeConstructed. 3 guys, 1 song. Maybe that'll get us some views. 3 guys, 1 song. I stole that from Ryan. All right, everybody. We'll see you next DeConstructed.
See ya.
See you guys.